was going to go about the rest of my day without a video, but then somebody put out the drama bat signal. Hey, welcome to my channel, or welcome back, loyal viewers. I'm Kerry, the nosy housefrau, sticking my nose in on the hottest topic, of course, James Charles having his say on all of this saying that people have been speaking about him. Now, I have freshly watched this, so I want to do this video while it's fresh in my mind because James covers a lot of ground. And one thing I kept in mind before even listening to him is something I often tell myself, which is if someone doesn't like you, nothing you say will sound right. When someone likes us, they tend to give us more leeway, and when they don't, nothing we say sounds right. You could say good morning, and it would be like, did you see the way she said good morning? And anyway, I have never liked James. I've never liked him. I've never subscribed to him. I could never even have a falling out or a disillusionment with him because I started at a place of no. When he lied on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and I just saw him being so phony and over the top, it always left a bad taste in my mouth. And so I am watching this from the perspective of someone who doesn't like James. And I want to make that clear because you really have to try and be objective when you listen to anyone. It boils down to this. I'm not a fan of James, but I'm a fan of the truth. So on no one's behalf do I pick up pitchforks and torches when someone tells me to. No. I go with what I believe is true. So you may not always agree with what I say on this channel, but I promise you it's just my opinion. And it's just, at least it's authentic. That's all I can tell you is, even if you think I'm wrong and you're welcome to have a polite dissenting view, that's okay. But I promise you I will always be telling you what I feel in that moment, given the information that I have. So I watched the video, and James talks about everything from Toddy's video, Jeffrey's video. He starts out complimenting them, so you know he's really going to give it to them, and says, I still love these people. And then he talks about all of the receipts. He addresses the supposed straight men. He addresses how he's been feeling. He talks about life as a gay teen from 12 on, and chalks up his immaturity to the fact that he hasn't gotten to do a lot of living because, he's so famous. A lot of James's problems stem from his fame. That's got to be so hard. So I could hear the critics actually watching this. I'm like, oh, people aren't going to like this. Overall, this was a very well put together video. I have to give credit for that. Polished. Didn't seem scripted, even though clearly it's all been thought out. The back and forth that he does between what he calls future James, which is him without makeup, and the groomed and preened makeup version of him in the video, he actually does that because those edits they put in case they required some further explanation. Everything was built upon, underscored, and set up so that he could be giving people the exact truth according to him. And I thought he presented his case very well. He didn't look desperate for approval. I mean, if somebody briefed him and gave him some tips, life coached him, they did an excellent job because he came across as credible. And that's hard to do when you're a confirmed liar. And in fact, that for me is ultimately why I think I've decided I don't care. I'm going to give a push to all of them on the whole thing. But to me, he never addresses how he started his career. Let me tell you something about these young kids on the interwebs. A lot of people, when they give explanation videos, when they are telling you what people have done to them that has been wrong, they go into great detail. When they are apologizing for their wrongdoings, they're very vague. Towards the end of the video, James says, I realize I wasn't always a great role model for people, and I'm working that. I haven't always been a great role model. That's a nice little label to put on it, isn't it? Why don't you go in detail? True ownership means giving those details. So tell people you're aware that you have a history of lies that have gotten you success. I think owning that would go a long way to this new attitude that he claims to have. He, rightfully so, talks about Sam, the guy in the hotel, and reveals the texts and the tweets from Jeffrey, tweets that Jeffrey sent to him, personal DMs that Jeffrey sent to him saying, you mother effer. Like speaking low will not get me demonetized. So in all of the weeks that people have been trying to make James Charles look crazy, in my opinion, in one video, he made Jeffrey look far worse. I'm thinking Jeffrey, I don't know what happens to him when he tweets or something, but is he on some kind of strain of pot that he needs to switch from, like that's making him very paranoid? because it's like a switch flips and he becomes somebody else in these tweets. It's almost like if you could believe somebody's captured Jeffrey and taken over his social media accounts, because he never comes across that way in his videos, and he has so much to offer. So it's a shame that these things happen. I don't know if it stemmed from his loyalty to Tati, but he seems to be sticking with this idea that James is quite the predator. James was right to defend himself against that, in my opinion. There are plenty of people out there trying to get some. And maybe he went about it in a clunky way, in a pushy way, but he never at any time refused to take no for an answer. I haven't seen evidence of that. If you have evidence of that, please enlighten me and I will change my tune. But for now, given the information that we have, I just feel like this was a pile-on based on something else entirely. I will not pick up a pitchfork and a torch for somebody else just because they tell me to. I need evidence. Bold claims require bold evidence. So, James addressed those things, and I think made himself look very good, look very mature. He did what I said the people in his camp would tell him to do, which is, you're not going to cancel me. I'm still going to go on my tour. And really, I think everybody is going to say that this whole video was timed very perfectly for his tour and also was a setup so that people could get on board with his tour. He announced that his tour is sold. He really promoted the tour. He's like, here's all the things we're not going to think about me. Here's why all of these things aren't true. And I'm looking forward to going on my tour and thanking you all personally. He said a lot of the right things. That being said, I don't know why you would feel a need to go on tour and listen to James. Does he sing? I don't know. Like maybe if he's going to do makeup and stuff like that, that would be better. But that's between him and the fans. Parents, you know, you need to think about what you're taking your little kids to go see. If you have a 14-year-old who wants to go see a guy who asks for a boop boop, he asks for a demonetized to suck for Christmas, you know, no thank you. You're going to go on tour, go demonetize yourself. I'm not going to let my kid go see you. But anyway, James addressed all of those things, addressed those tweets, said his truth, and said that he didn't feel that he should meet these people in private. He hasn't yet. But he wanted to have a public say since all of it started public. He let it all out, and it was very well thought out. The only thing I found that they should have left out that was just so manipulative was when he said towards the end, I went to a very dark place that I didn't think I could come back from. I can't believe I just said that on camera. Really? You can edit it out if it's too much of a share. And you also said it like 15 minutes earlier in the video, almost the same thing, and you, whatever. He said he was, he's close with his family. He addressed all these attacks on his family. He addressed the tweet that his brother put out where he said, people are tough behind the camera. He wasn't even talking about Jeffrey, and Jeffrey attacked him. I didn't need James to explain that. I knew that at the time. I'm like, how do you know he's talking about you? But it was, like I said, he made Jeffrey look bad. Jeffrey had said there's a reason he hadn't been in his house since February, and that it was because of Nate, etc. But James showed receipts of him saying, miss you and love you. That's a little two-faced. So, apparently, I actually got this right. It was about Nate's brother. It was about Nate's brother. And according to James, and we only have James's side of this, sent him a few pictures. There wasn't even time for flirtation, which James always has time for flirtation. It's like there's always room for Jell-O. There's always time to flirt. He said he sent him like 10 pictures. This didn't seem right to me. Sent him like 10 pictures, and he could tell he wasn't interested, so it didn't go anywhere. But he didn't even have time to flirt. He never even flirted. It never even got to that stage. I think when you're sending pictures, you're flirting. So that's not quite honest right there. There was so much ground covered. I can't wait to hear everybody else's thoughts on this because he really covered a lot. He thought out all he was saying. To me, he spoke with clarity and confidence. Well, as much clarity as you can speak with when you're about to swallow your own tongue. At one point, he said the word something and I just went, Sada. But he laid it all out there, almost articulately. And I thought there was a lot of power to what he said. I know, you don't come for me. It's just the way I saw it. I'm sorry. I know you don't like him. I can't say I do either. But at the end of the day, probably the only person in that group I really like is Tati. And I think that even if she made mistakes, they were honest ones. And she didn't want to have this falling out with her friend. He did talk about the sugar hair. He talked about the timeline at Coachella. I just couldn't care less about the VIP and the other tickets and I'm sorry, must be a bad drama investigator because I just don't care about that. Like a kid who decides he's going to just extend his vacation. Who doesn't do that? You know, let's not go back to real life. Let's just stay here and just stay around. I have more outfits that show my ass. So we can make another week out of this. So he showed the timeline for everybody interested in that. He laid out the facts of the timeline and how they could have these passes, etc. Definitely tried to remove himself from the whole willing to story for them type of thing. Said he felt sorry and that, you know, he tried to reach out to her. I'm not so sure he reached out to her the best he could, though. He said, well, I just put this thing up quick on my Instagram. Why didn't you make a video? Why is YouTube the last place James Charles goes when he swears he's got some apology that he wants everyone to know he doesn't use his biggest platform? Why not? Why not? That's weak. That's weak. So will a lot of people give James Charles a break on this? Will they give James Charles a break? I think so. I think a lot of his fans will come back. A lot of people will come back. He spoke, if nothing else, what he has gone through, a lot of people can't say they've gone through, and that would help anybody mature a little bit because he's weathering a storm. As immature as he has acted and as immature as he's been, it takes a thick skin. You have to develop a thick skin to get through what he's gotten through. Some people might say, oh yeah, boo-hoo, you know, he's got a lot of money, but he also had the whole world against him and lost 3 million subscribers in a matter of days and didn't know when the bleeding was going to stop. So like him or hate him, you have to say that that takes a little something. And it's probably character building. He's had the ability to address all of this stuff before he's even 20. And yeah, towards the end he goes, and I'm about to turn 20. Gross. Shut up. Anyway, let me know what you think about the whole thing. Is there something else I need to dissect from that video that I missed? I did listen to the whole thing as requested by James, and I don't think I missed anything. I think I'm just getting a little bit of fatigue with the story. So maybe his video kind of helped take the wind out of the sails of this drama, and we can move on to other stuff, like what they're doing next week.